Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your Detox to Destiny 7-day life cleanse and detox. And I know that all of you have been enjoying the segments. There's been so many breakthroughs, and I cannot wait to dive into today's segment. I'm going to introduce you to this amazing woman in just a moment. But before that, I want to remind you to put all distractions aside. I know that a lot of us tend to multitask. If you're driving, that's okay too. But if you're not, press pause and give yourself permission to be here, be present, because you're about to hear, I want to say, some revolutionary information today and some incredible healing intel that I know is going to come through this amazing human right here with me. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Kasia Kynes. And hello first.
Hello. I love it. The healing intel. You're doing the healing intel in this event. It's amazing. I'm just so thrilled to be part of it. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. Well, we're gonna do some magic here together, because I know that you've got some incredible information to deliver right here, right now. And everyone here is in a divine appointment. So listening to this, you're ready to hear all of this information today and have some shifts on an energetic, spiritual level and physical level. So I'm excited. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Kasia Kynes. So, I mean, so much. The founder of the EBV Institute, so Epstein-Barr virus, for those of you that do not know what that is. She's also an author. She's a doctor of clinical nutrition. She is a wellness expert. She is really an expert in the field. And it's incredible how much she specialized in detoxification before she did all of this. And she's an amazing spiritual being as well. And her higher calling is really to come to support people through health and what's going on with the health challenges, to really remember who they are. And she, in a way, is supporting a lot of people to heal their health challenges so they can rise above it and really go out there and do the work they're meant to do in the world. So that, I know that she's working in the front lines with a lot of what's going on today, but that is her big why. And that, I mean, I just have goosebumps right now all about it. And today's segment is called Restoring Your Health: The Spiritual Lessons COVID, Epstein-Barr, and Other Health Challenges Are Teaching You. And if you have had COVID, you want to listen to this. If viruses, body breakdown, whether it's any other thing, you want to be here, because Dr. Kynes is in the forefront of a lot. And I love how science-based, of course you are, but still you're very much with the science and the spiritual merged together. To me, it works. And before we get started, I just want to say I ran into Dr. Kynes because I was in desperate need. I had COVID, and after COVID, I had full blood work. And then my functional medicine doctor said, "You have Epstein-Barr." And I said, "What is that?"
What?
What is that? I had never heard of that. And then sure enough, I went on my research and I was like, and it's so misunderstood. And I was like, "What do you mean there's no cure?" And he said, "There's no cure for it. Just, here's some supplements and go to sleep early." And I felt better, but then we did testing and it still hadn't gone away. So I bought Dr. Kynes' book on Amazon, amazing resource. And then I found her and I joined her community, and it's been life-changing of all the spiritual lessons that you've been teaching me about what Epstein-Barr is. And also COVID, it's like, it became this interesting. So here we are, and I would love for you to share with everybody how you came to your work today, and specifically to found the Epstein-Barr Institute.
And first of all, thank you for mentioning that big vision. I don't often talk about that. We had a conversation, but it just got me teary-eyed, because we need to bring our people to that place where they can actualize what they're so purpose is on this planet, and you do have to be well, but this virus is such a teacher, it just alerts you to things that are out of balance, so you can actually pay attention. So it's all possible. And one thing I have to say right off the cuff is that this virus is predictable, it's treatable and reversible, and I am not making it up. We have literature too. I'm quoting medical literature and myself from my clinical practice. We see that. So don't think that you're stuck with it. Wherever, to anyone that has that and is listening. I had a very special friend in Poland before I immigrated. I'm from Poland. And 6 months before I was packing and leaving for America, she ended up in the ER with a out of the blue diagnosis of MS. And so my 20 years as a new immigrant correlated with her 20 years of fighting MS. And so I failed to help her. That's how I felt. I didn't know how to help her. And I always asked why this had to happen to her. She died of complications, leaving a young son behind. And so it was painful, and I was always angry about it and always asked why, what happened. And so I remember talking to a medical intuitive at one point, said, can you tell me, why did Marlena die from this MS? What could have been the root cause? And this virus came up. So I was asking questions about this virus. I was asking the questions about some of the complicated patients that I was not able to help. The common, mysteries, because I was working with autoimmunity, I was working with Hashimoto's, I was working with SIBO, I was working with all the gut infections, upper gut infections, H. pylori, gastritis, whatnot. But some of these cases would just not budge no matter what we did. And in our community of people with EBV, it's not for the lack of trying. These people are doing everything I told them. We were doing it. And then I kept asking why. So when you keep asking, the door opens. So one day, a couple of my patients asked me to make it, can you comment on this book? And this book was called Medical Medium. I didn't have time to read, but I was flying to a conference. So I said, okay, one person I could say, I don't have time to read, but 3 people said, okay. Grab the book on the plane, open the book on the plane, and I would have fallen off my chair if I could, because I was reading my patient stories. It's like, why I went to the best schools in the country. I was, none of this was ever mentioned. What is Epstein-Barr? Why nobody's talking about it? Obviously, that's why Medical Medium came with the book, because he needed people to pay attention. This was not being dealt with properly, and it's still not, but it's improving. And so I started to, it's a blanket statement that everything is caused by EBV, but I started to see patterns. So after that conference, I basically went into medical literature and said, okay, he's coming from a spirit world, and not everybody resonates, not everybody believes him, and certainly medical community will not embrace it. So what can I verify? Let me just jump into medical literature and just pull everything that is in existence. And that was my deep dive. I was just spending hours and hours and hours. I figured out from medical literature how to test, how to interpret the labs. And I started to ask my patients, and we started to look at the labs, and we started, so I just followed the science, followed my questions, and the answers started to come to the point where I was pinching myself. People were recovering, turning around. It's like, I can't believe nobody's doing this. Yeah. And so a number of people, my mentors, my colleagues, even my husband, were insisting, write the book. It's like, what book? I have a very busy practice. I don't have a life. I'm overworked. I've never written a book. What are you talking about? No. You're going to write the book. And so I think it was guided, because I wrote it in less than a year. I just sat and wrote and stories, and it's right there. It's almost 600 pages. But the work, I realized that I'm a messenger, so yes, I had a choice to answer the call or not, and I felt I had a responsibility, and somebody had to do it right. and I had the background, I realized that my detox work, my protocols for detox and the diet and the foods and the recipes and all that I've been teaching my people previously was exactly aligned with the research for EBV. It's like I could not believe that I was such a match. So it was very easy for me to sit and write because I had all this clinical experience and the protocols before. I just had to add the specific EBV protocols. So that's how it happened. It's like I just had to do it. I did not even question. It's like, okay, everybody says so, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit and do it and put my fears aside, because there's still typos I'm finding, even though we edited it millions of times and it's not perfect, but I knew people were dying. I knew people were in pain. I knew there was nothing there except that medical medium book. I was also getting some people who went through medical medium protocols, and sometimes they had to do some damage control and recovery because they will be losing too much weight, or people just don't know. People don't have the education, so they can take things too hard, do some things too long. And he's not. He doesn't have a clinical nutrition background either, so so there's some dangers with that. Those dietary recommendations. So that's the story.
Yeah, I think this is so important for everybody to hear as well, because it's like the calling calls you. Oftentimes it's like, no, I'm busy. Like, I'm not, like you had your friend was, you guys had an agreement, you were going to be the one that has been called, and you stepped up and you said a couple of very important things. So my brain started going, and it's like, for our audience, it's like, interesting how a lot of our health breakdowns, you didn't necessarily have it with EBV, or your friend or your parents, like that was for me when my father was going through chemo and radiation. I couldn't find products for him. I wrote my first book as well. It was all scientific based, had to be cited with everything. It was about how to detox the body while you're going through chemo and radiation. So
I need your book. I need to know about your book. I didn't even know
yeah, and it's called When Cancer Hits, and that was in my past career. And then I created a skincare line because natural, organic, it was toxicologist approved. We went through all, because again, it's like, so you're reminding me, here's your dear friend, and you were just so, because who you are as a person, you were so committed to, well, I got to find something. I'm going to research. I'm going to, and it came to you, just like to me, it started to come to me. And before you know it, I'm writing a book and I'm creating the skincare line. But to your point, because this is very valuable for this life cleanse, is we both have been called and we both had fears. I just want to, it was evident. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night going, who am I to formulate the skincare line with advisory panel of doctors and all that? I'm not a doctor. And my ex-husband would be like, Bree, it's your story. You're driving everything. I hired, like, I had advisory panel from Yale and from University of Arizona.
Amazing.
Do you know what I mean? We hired, but I was chosen to be the messenger for that particular brand, that message, until it was time to move to something else. And you were chosen to deliver that. Necessarily, you didn't walk through it. I mean, while I did have cancer, but it was 16. But do you know what I mean? It was because of my father that I did this. So pay attention if you're listening to part of the spiritual lessons here about whether it's cancer or EBV or any other, or even COVID, like, what specifically are you being called to do? And I remember when I found you, Dr. Kynes, I was like, because I've been thinking of all the chronic fatigue I've had all my life. And no one can ever figure out what that was. It was like, oh, you just do too much, or, oh, like you're just an empathic, so you must set boundaries. And I was like, my mom, my 75-year-old mother back then, she's 85 now, she would say to me, I have more energy than you do, and you're in your 30s. And I'm like, that's not helpful. And I put it all together. It was like a magic when I found you. I was like, oh, could this be that I've actually had Epstein-Barr all my life, activated, non-activated? And I'll have you speak a little bit about what it means, because some people may not know. And now, just because I happen to find a doctor that believed in let's test for that,
Yeah.
and I figured out that, well, after COVID, it was activated. But tell us what the main symptoms of Epstein-Barr are. Some people have been suffering for things and they've never known, because like you say, mystery illness, right? What's apparent on a physical level, emotional level, and spiritual level with Epstein-Barr?
Okay, so oh man.
I know, right?
What a story you have. What a story you have. People don't realize when they talk about that fatigue, it's a different fatigue. It's not the fatigue when you exercise. It's like a iron laden fatigue where you just can't pick up ever. And that's where you want to distinguish, just being tired. So let's zoom out and talk about literature, because what you see in studies is if you have a patient, that's what they say, and the patient has complex medical issues and you're running through protocols and the patient doesn't respond, you should test for chronic EBV. And another study says if you have a patient and the patient has so-called idiopathic condition, which means there's no explanation, you can't diagnose it, you don't know what it is, he's not responding, test for chronic EBV. So that's why it's hard to tell, what are the symptoms? Typical symptoms are very heavy fatigue or very heavy brain fog, or both, or pain, chronic pain. That's typical. There's all kinds of things, skin rashes, nosebleeds, headaches. 75% people have headaches actually, and that's from EBV. Any malaise, but you have a plethora of medical conditions. Some of them are cancer. There's cancer types, like I think 10 or 15% of stomach cancer can be linked to actually caused by EBV specifically. And then we have autoimmune disorders, lots of them, notably quite common ones like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, IBD, diabetes type 1, MS, and even celiac, directly caused. There is an area in your nucleus, in your DNA coding for autoimmunity, that the virus, if it's in your cell, it can actually turn this on. So if you have celiac gene, but you don't express celiac, you may be okay with gluten. Suddenly you have EBV, it turns it on, and suddenly any little gluten, you are absolutely sick and you don't know what's coming. So it's a virus that has tentacles in a lot of areas. It could even go into your vagus nerve and impact your motility in your gut. So suddenly maybe you're not moving your foods. You have more infections from food sitting and not being moved correctly. We never know. I've seen all kinds of weird presentations. Interstitial cystitis is one of the recent ones when I didn't even think I would do research on it. It's like, that can't be. But I looked into medical literature and there it is, like, And so, it's a pretty big virus and can be devastating. But the good thing is we can turn it off. And most of us carry it on the planet. I don't know if I told you, I recently reactivated my EBV first time in my life. I tested first time in my life. And the trigger was repeated mode exposure. And compounded by Wi-Fi technology. We moved into a new house. There was a smart meter, the location on my desk. And I started to develop vertigo first time in my life. 24 hours later, I turned it off. But I was just aware and understanding what was going on. We have the protocol, moved my desk around. I'm waiting for the smart meter to be removed and things like that. So there's plenty that we can do. And there's plenty damage that this virus causes in people.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. You mentioned too the EMF, right? And that being the
unfortunately, yes,
quite toxic, and it's something that we can. There's things you can do, but I didn't know that you had reactivated. So, but again, because it's gone through, there's so many things it can lead to. And I had Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 16. And I remember saying to my functional medicine doctor, now I'm 47. And I said to him, oh my God, could I have had Epstein-Barr before I had Hodgkin's lymphoma? And he goes, quite possibly.
Yeah.
And I go, how can we test for that? And he goes, I'm sorry, we can't. That was back then. Like, I can't tell you why you got Hodgkin's lymphoma, but had they tested for that then, maybe we could see, but they didn't, right? So the reason I wanted you to be here is because for me, let's go a little bit to the spiritual side. To me, COVID was an initiation. And I don't know if people can understand what that means for people.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, it was an initiation and a choosing point for how I was going to walk out of this. It had to knock me out. I had a fever for 14 days and knocked me out for 3 weeks and just completely debilitated. But it was a choice point, and I did have to make some decisions about how I was, what belief systems, and it's almost like I didn't have to work at it. It was just like subconsciously there were choices. And I even asked at one point, I said, oh God, is this it for me? Because I felt really awful. I didn't end up in the hospital, but I was having these thoughts that, oh my God, maybe this is it. I don't know. And I just heard this very calm voice say, no, not yet. And so that gave me, but then the next question, intuitive question that came up is, who are you going to be walking out of this?
Oh my gosh.
Almost like I had a file drive of the things I knew needed to go right away. I was like, tick, 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 tick. And I didn't have to do some special ceremony or prayer or journaling. It was like in that moment, there was some decisions that were made. And when I came out, I felt like I walked out in a different realm, if you will. And so I know Epstein-Barr has given me similar lessons. Like, I cannot be this type A personality flying around the world, doing retreats, not sleeping. It's taught me how to come home to myself, both of those viruses, and cancer specifically. I mean, I had it for so long ago, but tell us a little bit about some of the spiritual lessons that, COVID and Epstein-Barr and any other thing, any really health breakdown are really waking us up. What are they waking us up that you're seeing as a commonality with our patients, or your patients, not mine, our community, I meant to say.
So this is such a question. It's incredible. Okay, so EBV is a teacher. COVID, in a way, we're not sure if it's an artificial or real virus. It's still such a messy realm. EBV has been here for millions of years. So, and all these centuries we've cohabited together.
Yeah.
So it may be right now that so many people have it and have had it is because we altered our environment so drastically, and it's getting worse. And this virus, it's like a computer virus. You can turn it on and off. It's very predictable. So if you do not take care of yourself, the type A personality, you got it. That's our community, right? And people who have chronic EBV oftentimes are healers too, because you worry about other people, you care about other people, you lose yourself in service or in your job, or you forget about respecting your own boundaries, or telling your boss you're not going to work on Friday, evenings, or we are so boxed in lives we don't like. I mean, there's 82% of people say that they hate their job. Wow. You can't live like this. Something has to go. You have all this input. It's imprinted. It's going in from your mind, from your worries, from your anger. It's going in somewhere. The emotions carry chemicals with them. It's like a chemical switch of the stress response. It's not just stress that is unpleasant. It's chemicals. These chemicals feed this virus. It's like a switch. It's like you're pregnant or not. You can't be in between, right? And so what comes is, wow, we are so unhappy inside. We are so alone inside. We are so not enough. not loved enough, not worth it, primary feelings that we live and grow up with, which is ancestral from our parents, because they didn't have a life they loved. They didn't self-actualize. They didn't follow the voice you did every time, they have constraints. They don't have belief system. And you grow up with this, like, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough. It's like very basic. We carry all this. And instead, we have such gifts, whether it's arts, teaching, medicine, healing, And so the spiritual lesson is that if you listen to what you're not doing, what you're doing too much of, where you stretch too much, where you're compromising for your own self, when you start paying attention, it's very simple. When you start loving yourself, when you're starting to walk into your joy, the joy, the fun, when you start to get into a space where the body can start healing, and it's very hard for the virus to continue replicating. So that's just the one, that spiritual. We, as a species, we can jump, we can compress time. Right now, my understanding is that we have the ability to raise the consciousness of the whole planet and move us to more dimensions. So we are much more spiritually balanced and enlightened. It is possible. What's coming in the political world right now, the tragedy that is coming, it's almost like the last hurrah of the dark energies and the ego and the fear-based reality. And I hope that resolves as soon as possible, because it is so painful to watch. We do have a possibility, and there's millions of people right now meditating at the same time, where we can shift. There is a small percentage of global population that is needed. What is it, 1% or 3% that is needed to get into that higher vibration to move the whole planet and raise the consciousness of all of us. So if you look at the planetary, the animals, a lot of the animals are aligned and waiting for us, there's like just, so if you think about it this way, hopefully that resonates with the people that are listening. If you can remember what you used to love, let me tell you, this is so amazing. When I was growing up, I was drawing horses for hours and hours and hours and hours. I wasn't interested in writing, competing, none of that. I was just drawing the horses. And here I am at 55, and we are now dreaming of a dream home with a ranch, like a ranch home with space for horses. And I've had allergies to horses all my life. And now I have a belief system when I think I can heal that and be with them. Because I didn't touch horses for 40 years because my allergies were so bad. So it's like we have to, that's your heart's joy. It was there. There was something there that you loved. And maybe it was crushed by your parents or circumstances, or you just don't have the capacity because you're just trying to pay the bills and you are just so desperate and so sad and miserable, you don't even want to unbury those dreams. And especially when people have chronic EBV, those dreams are buried because it's too painful to even remember what you would love to do otherwise. But it can be brought back and you can follow that. So that's what I see in terms of where we are. And my job also, just carry that space and hold that space, the physical healing from EBV education, and also a little bit of spiritual, emotional support if people are ready, and let people fly so they can actually do the light work.
Yes.
And thank you, because you're one of them, and I am just so honored that
thank you. Well, it was, to your point, I was very sad when after COVID and EBV, because the first thing I said is I remember crying. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to work now. Yeah. And I love what I do. So it's like, am I not going to be able to serve? But what I heard is, no, we're doing inventory right now. That's what's happening. We're looking at what's expired and what has to be thrown out. And I love it. Looking at what has to go. And the gift of both those viruses and any health breakdown, because prior to that, a year before that, I ripped my Achilles tendon playing tennis. I'd never had an injury my whole life. And that's when also God said to me, we're going to talk, not just for a morning or a weekend, but for a little bit. And
something you need to hear.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so my primary function as a light worker right now is to listen, to not do, but to listen to what am I being asked to do? Because we're living, going forward, I'm living a whole new different reality that's not being driven by my ego and the shoulds. It's being driven by a higher divine intelligence that knows what happened yesterday, what's happening now, what's going to happen in 3 weeks and 3 years and 30 years. There's intel that I have to master listening, not just for when I want to come and get and then go take off like a racehorse and do what I want. So it was this obedience piece to listening to my higher self and my heart, and forgetting what I thought the world needed or wanted. So that to me has been one of the main things. But the reason I also wanted to share you like with the world here, Dr. Kynes, is because can you go talk about the study that talks about that so many people watching have had COVID, even if it was just a sniffle, or some have been to the hospital or their family members, etc. Or even some vaccinated people or most vaccinated people, whatever it is, that activates certain things. So that study was so important to me, because I think a lot of people are walking around saying, oh my God, I can't with this brain fog and this exhaustion after COVID, I've got long COVID. But you have some studies that are proven that it may not be long COVID. It may be, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Because, viruses come and go. It's like viruses are quick, except EBV. EBV goes chronic, and that's the tragedy of it. We can turn it off, but we live with it. And 95% of global population have it, so it sits there. And EBV is an opportunist. So, I tested at the ripe age of 54 last fall, just because I saw my symptoms like, okay, I have all this mold exposure, and mold can reactivate EBV. Wi-Fi can activate EBV. I had mold and Wi-Fi at the same time in a new house with more Wi-Fi, and boom. And so, it is an opportunist. Okay, I'm losing my train of thought.
COVID and how
it is the chronic aspect. And so the study that came up just last year, recently last year, they took a group of people that had long COVID, and they tested them properly for current reactivated EBV, because the testing also is often done improperly, but they did it properly, and 73% in that group actually had chronic active EBV. So, and the symptoms are absolutely matching of what typical chronic reactivated EBV is. So it's possible that, we have common transactivations in medical literature, meaning that if you have one infection, just like I said, mold is an example. You have mold exposure, you can reactivate the EBV. You have one bacterial, fungal, or viral infection, you can reactivate your EBV. Remember, we carry that virus. So don't even think about, oh, I'm the 1% that doesn't care. You will kiss somebody, we have it. It's just that it's an opportunist, and most people, they're fine. So it's instrumental, and I can see that at this time, one of the manufacturers of the vaccines for COVID is now coming up with Moderna with a pilot study to study a global vaccination for EBV. That may not be the answer. That's more complicated, but that's where they're going, because now they're looking at the global aspect of it. It's a good thing that we're finally looking at it, because why are people not hearing about the work we're doing or the book? This should be like, we need to change the medical vocabulary. You don't have to be sick. This is not how it is. And so, we still don't know enough about COVID, how it all relates. But there's been a couple of studies now connecting COVID and EBV. So the tough
very
case,
interesting.
yeah, there's some tough cases in hospitalized people in the intensive care units, and they are testing them, and they have EBV. And if they have that active EBV, they have a much harder time to survive the COVID hospitalization. And so there's definitely something going on. So I don't know if the long-term COVID exists or if it's just actually moving to EBV.
Wow. So a couple of things from this, if you're listening, you may just want to go get tested for Epstein-Barr, and and if so, then you've got the right resource, and you're going to find out her links are right below here. And of course, I know that she's going to tell us too, where she hangs out in the whole thing, and she's got incredible master classes. But number two, before we get to your little process here that you're going to support us on, I want to also ask you, because it kept coming up, so I'm sure some of our audience are thinking about this. How do you detox from Wi-Fi? What's your preferred way that's been the most effective?
Oh, if you had all the money in the world and access, do fiber.
We would buy an island.
Fiber optic. We moved out of the island because the internet was not reliable, and the fiber optic, the price tag was $30,000.
Wow.
So if you can do it. But other than that, you can just turn it off for the night, turn off the router, simple things. Make sure
not just the phone, literally turn off the router.
Yeah, we're talking. I have a blue screen turned off, so you can go all your devices. Basically,
I have it on my phone. Yeah, people are like, why is your screen orange? It's like, because
Google, turn off blue light. Google it. Turn off blue light on my computer on this and this. Follow instructions, 15 seconds. It's just a little discoloration, but you'll get used to it. And so you don't have that extra blasting on you. Keep your phone turned off unless you use it. And if you use it, use earpiece. Don't talk on the phone. Here is simple hygiene, which we're not taught. And then, I keep training my husband to turn off his phone when he's not talking, because he's always next to his phone. And so I'm next to it as well. So I keep turning it off. And
I just want to mention too, that the pods, they emit more EMF than the wires. So just for all of those listening, I think that it's quite a big difference.
No. And the iPhone, the mistake they're making is that they require a little attachment here to even plug your earpiece.
Right.
So they're actually forcing you into those iPods, which is very dangerous. That should somehow be regulated by health organizations, because that's the
so speakerphone is the best, if anything, right now. Not holding it, but
speakerphone. Yes, you can use a little thing here to type if you want, and you can earpieces that are air filled. You can get them. There's good companies and stuff. So there is technology. We have a whole chapter in the book on that. It is really important because it can be the factor that reactivates your EBV right there and then.
Or for many other things, if you're trying to heal from anything, it's interference.
Anything, yes, on a cellular level. Smart meters are insidious because most people don't know that it has been installed. So you have to call your electricity utility company. When we moved here, I noticed it was on the outside, so I had to call them. In Washington State, I had to e-sign documents online that I want them out, because then I had to sign that I agree to pay penalty and then be charged extra every month. But in some states you don't have that right, which is really alarming. So there's things to remediate those smart meters. They are very dangerous because they pulsate every 2-3 seconds, nonstop, 24/7. So if somebody has a pacemaker, you can end up in ER and not know why, because it can interfere. So
crucial. Your book on Amazon, I mean, even if you don't have EBV, like the book is just so informative. And I know there's been so much praise around it. And I know that some doctors are actually learning from your book and your protocols, because like you said, they are proven to work. It's predictable. You know what to do. And I've noticed it in myself when, it's like just applying a few things. It's like, yeah, I mean, like my neck pain is completely gone. And it's like,
Oh, good.
I had chronic pain there. I tried everything. So, well, I want to move us into your process, your 5 to 6 to 10 minute process. And then we're going to find out where everybody can learn more about you, and we'll wrap up. But go ahead. I will leave it over to you.
Yes. So I have
and tell us what you're going to walk us through.
Yeah. So I have something exciting to share. We're going to do a clearing statement and a love meditation. And these are, I borrowed from a dear friend of mine, animal spirit talker, Lynn Schuster. She's an incredible light worker and I love her to pieces. And so this, I share this with our community. We're going to start with clarity statement. So just so that you know, when you are a sensitive individual and dark energies come into your life in form of, confusing energy at Costco or Target, or negative people, or you enter a room and you feel awful, or you are scared of something you don't know, you always have at the tip of your tongue this one statement that you can say, clear. I'm going to read a statement that I learned from Lynn, but she taught me, as long as you have an intention, whatever the dense energy, negative energy, scary energy from people is around you and you can feel awful, you just make an intention that you're going to clear them, let them go, and you can say clear. So you just say clear and it dissipates. But other than that, we have, I'm going to say it's 3 short paragraphs that I'm going to say. Sometimes we start some events with this. So if everyone wants just to close your eyes for a minute, take a deep breath and just follow my voice. We ask and intend that all disconnect energy return to its right and proper place. We are one with the divine. We ask for a complete clearing in all directions of time and space, now and until the next time we clear. We ask our guides and angels, those closest to the divine, to be present during this journey. We ask that this be a healing journey for all bodies, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. We ask that this journey be gentle. We call on the healing light beings of the highest vibration to help us during this process. As I said, instead of saying this, you can imagine what the intention is. You say clear. And as this says, you should clear once in a while so you don't get drawn into negativity, especially during this crisis that we have in Europe right now. So use that recording.
I love it, because as most of us here listening, we're empathic, and
Yes.
It used to be part of our pattern to mesh with people's energy, or to do their work, or to feel their feelings, or take care of their feelings. That's not our divine assignment. Our divine assignment is to be in right here with ourselves, grounded, embodied in our presence. And so I love when you're saying I think we got to clear energy, just like we shower every day. We got to clean that energy. And I know that you believe that an accumulation of this toxic, heavy energy leads to body breakdown eventually, somehow, to bioenergetic blocks,
Yes. And by the way, before I do love meditation, I jotted down so that I don't forget. And this is a perfect timing. Pay attention if somebody talks to you and you have goosebumps. Pay attention to goosebumps and chills, because that's a confirmation on the spiritual realm. We know about that. And so there were a couple of times when you were mentioning, Rita, what happened to you, and I had chills, like, yes, this is like confirmed from up there. You are plugged into that spiritual realm. So check with yourself next time that happens. And another thing is, sometimes when you have a breakdown and you feel that there is no hope, think about the breakdown as a way to break through. Because sometimes, just like in business, everybody wants to make $1 million, but in order to become $1 million earner, let's say, you have to become a different person, serve at a different level, have different skills. So it's like when you're breaking down, I love the thing you mentioned, the inventory. It's like this inventory is no longer supporting you. You have to break down that inventory to break through to a higher level where you're meant to be. So don't think about challenges that it's the end of all. It's actually necessary for you to pay attention and to go through it, like the eye of a needle, into the eye of the storm. So anyway, it just came up and I didn't want to
Beautiful.
not say that. Okay, we're gonna do love meditation. It's so beautiful. So imagine that the left is where you receive energy, like universal energy and love, and the right is when you can share it, give it. So we're gonna be conduit for the next 5 minutes as I read the love meditation. So again, your feet are not crossed, your legs are not crossed, your arms are not crossed. You can sit comfortably and take a deep breath, close your eyes. I'm just going to walk you through it. Just listen and imagine. Okay, let me just ground myself. Take a deep breath. Let's do love meditation. Sitting with your feet flat on the floor, begin to breathe consciously. Breathe deep down into your sacral chakra. This is just below your belly button. So sacral chakra is right there. Feel your belly rise and fall. Concentrate on your breath. Listen. Just listen. Really listen to the sounds in the room and breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, and listen. Breathe in love through your left palm. The left side of the body is the sacral feminine side. Bring that love up your arm, past your left elbow, to your left shoulder, and across your chest to your heart. Breathe in love. Love is eternal. Love is everlasting. Love is infinite. Love is your birthright. Breathe in love. Take extra. Exhale love across your right side of the chest, to your shoulder, down to the right arm, past your right elbow, and out your right palm. Watch that love expand tenfold. Breathe in love through your left palm. Bring that love up your left arm, past your left elbow, to your left shoulder, and across the chest to your heart. Breathe that love into your heart. Take in extra. As a child of God, you are so worthy of love. Exhale love across the right side of your chest, to your shoulder, down your right arm, past your right elbow, and out your right palm. Watch that love expand tenfold. Breathe in love. Exhale love. Continue breathing in love and exhaling love. Your energy vibration now is rising. You are holding the frequency of love. You can now talk to the animals, your guides, and your angels. And this is courtesy of Len Schuster, the Animal Spirit Talker. Thank you. You can open your eyes. Rub your hands on your legs. Give yourself a squeeze of love.
What I keep getting blown away during this life cleanse is how quickly we can switch realms from fear to love. And I love that you said this is the place we can talk to animals and our spirits, because when we are in that frequency, there's Anita Moorjani's written a book called What If This Is Heaven? And she talks about we get to live heaven on earth, and heaven is just a frequency. And heaven is embodied wholeness, being connected to the frequency of love, knowing who you are, knowing your divinity. And hell is survival mode, fight or flight, being in your head, hypervigilant, overthinking. That's hell. So it's like, wow, this reminded me of that. You've taken us through this 5-minute meditation to a place where we're connected to all divine being.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. It's right. It's almost like it's right here, but it's different dimensions. So it's not miles away. It's right here. It's a little bit like you think you're pregnant, you have the baby here, and you don't realize the baby's right there, hearing everything you say. It's right here, right there. right in that tiny space. So we have it. I need that book for our community and I want to read it. So thank
Yes,
you for that
it's
recommendation.
gorgeous, so
It
gorgeous.
sounds perfect. Yes.
Yes. So I've got time for one quick question on our fire round, and this is a short answer, whatever comes up for you. Are you ready?
Mhm.
Okay. If you had to tell your 15-year-old two things as a value system for life, what would they be?
Dream and follow, dream and follow, dream and follow.
Mm. Dream and follow, dream and follow.
Yeah, that's what comes up.
One last one. How do you stretch your faith and how do you trust even when nothing is going your way?
Me personally or anyone?
You personally.
My personal guardian angel, I was told, is a horse I loved and we lost. So I talked to Lynn because I'm learning to talk to her too, but sometimes I just want Lynn to be there officially to tap into her love. I remember that we have spiritual connections and I have to remind myself to connect and talk and ask for guidance. Just ask for guidance. So reminder that I'm never alone. And that is that's my learning ground right now.
Yeah, so through that you come back to trust.
And then that the pain, because I'm going through, this is the, I think, fourth or third house in a row that with mold, and I'm very sensitive to mold. And so just thinking that there is a reason why I have to go through this pain and I can do something good about it later.
Yes.
Something for service, something where I can make a difference. Same with horses. I can do something where I can make a difference and help others. And that takes a lot of pressure off, because when you focus on helping somebody, you don't worry about perfection, imperfection, and fears. You just know you can help, and it makes a world of difference. That's how we wired. We wired to be of service. This is where we actually thrive. So when we're blocked and isolated and we feel like we're not good enough to do anything, you're shutting off that possibility of you serving in your perfectly imperfect self.
I love that. Yeah, I call it curriculum. I say, oh, this is just curriculum to serve later. So it allows me to tap into trust. So this with your homes, it's curriculum because something is going to come out of this. I know it, Dr. Keynes, I know it.
Yeah, there's a purpose. Yeah.
There's a purpose. That was so gorgeous. Thank you. So what are you giving everybody today so they can continue to learn from you? Yep.
I'm really excited because so you have the clearing statement and you have the love meditation. So I thought that I would give a free chapter of my book that talks about science. So this is a chapter that is important for medical doctors, because 1/3 of the book is science, and then 2/3 is what you do with that EBV. So that's a big chapter about all the medical conditions, symptoms, and studies. So if somebody thinks, could it be me? Just look at that chapter, just glance through the medical names. There's also a table with all of them. These are not all, because at a certain point I had to stop researching.
Yes.
The book is already big, so I had to stop. But yes, that will give you a sense that maybe if you're struggling, that may be something to look at.
Perfect. So download. And then what's your website? Where can everybody find you?
We have two websites. What is my name? Which is a little tricky because I'm Polish, but the best website is the EBV website we created with a lot of resources. And that's EBV Help, EBVHELP.com.
Yeah. It's so helpful and useful. So go over there and sign up for her newsletters and just get access to this. And Dr. Keynes, you are a pioneer and a leader, and I just know that more is going to come from you. Spirit's not done. You've opened the channel. You've answered the call, so it's all going to keep on coming.
I'm listening.
Yeah. And I'm just so grateful that you came here today to be with us and with me to share your energy, your wisdom, and everything. I know
Oh, I
you've helped
am.
so many people, or you've at least turned a light bulb on many
Yeah, we have to
different
turn
ways.
the light bulb, and you're helping us turn the light bulb, big volume for all of us. And thank you for your service. And I want to know more about the book you wrote and the cosmetics. I have
Aw.
no idea. I want to know. So send me information about those. And yes, and everyone enjoy this amazing, amazing process, the detox. And oh, I can only imagine how good it's going to be. It's a beautiful space you're creating. So I am honored to be part of it.
Thank you. Like we said earlier, it's a divine assignment. So we're here together. So everybody, I know that you got a lot out of today. Go to the Facebook page. Tell me all the takeaways. Tell me what was the biggest aha. What are you committed to? What are you declaring out of this? And I just know that this was a conversation that could change the trajectory of many people's listening, many people's lives. So again, thank you, Dr. Kynes. And to all of you, continue to enjoy. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Detox. Much love. Bye for now.